Hello class and welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to use Android Studio. Um, yeah, so hope you enjoy. Cool, so the first step is we're going to set up GitHub. Um, Now I'm following some of some of the reference material I'm going to be using is from our course, but it's from 2024. And there's a file called Faculty of ICT GitHub Guide, which is also available in this link. I will be sharing this document in the video on YouTube in the description, so you can find it there. So if you click this, I'm following the section in Unit 1, um, Section 4.1. Um, that's the only section I'm actually following in here. So let's see. Oh, sorry, it's actually not unit. It's just 1.4.1. Okay. So 1.4.1. So all I'm actually using this guide for is just to show you how to register an account. So blah, 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 register an account. Okay. So you're going to go to github.com. You can also just Google it. Um, I think everyone has done this already, but if you haven't, um, you'll come to the page, click sign up, and then you can go through the steps. You use your student number, student ID, sorry, use your student email address. Once you're finished with that, then you can sign in. And here we are. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do the assignment, the 2024 assignment. Um, I mean, I can show you where you can find that. So you go to student material for IMAD, go to 2024, and then this assignment, and you'll open this. There it is. Okay, so if you go through here, what it starts with is blah 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 blah. You're welcome to read this. I've noticed it's basically the same on all assignments, so it's just repetitive. Anyway, so assignment topic, create a native Android app using Kotlin and Android Studio to address the scenario below. So basically, just to summarize what this says, it's basically that the requirement for this is you have a friend, they're a history teacher, they want to inspire people to learn about history through technology. So she wants you to make an app that does the following. When you put in your age, it will tell you which historic figure died at your age. So, for instance, I am 31. So if I enter 31, then I must then get the result of someone who died in history, who was that age when they died. So yeah, so that's it. Requirements, user interface, design an engaging user interface, captivate students' interests using elements like illustrations, history, theme, and graphics. Use your own background colors. I didn't actually see this before, but yeah, I guess it's just like making your thing fancy. Ensure the interface is intuitive and easy for students to interact with. Here's an example of what that should look like in Elements. Cool. So they've made it all fancy. Okay, so um, age classification logic. Sorry, actually, I didn't read this. To find a list of different famous people and what age they passed away. Implement logic to match the age of famous. Assume there is only one person. of the age requested. Fonts and stuff. Include your app at least 10 different people in history. Okay, so we're not actually doing like 0 to 100. We're actually only going to be doing 10. A clear button that will reset. Error handling. Should the app handles errors? Okay, so a lot of the things in here, um, I have not covered, but a lot of the things in here are details that you can cover once you've done the foundation. So I'm going to cover the foundation. There's little things in here like making sure you're validating that you're not allowing people to put in decimals, you're not allowing them to write numbers in text form using strings, etc., etc., etc. But those are just details. So what I'm covering is basically the foundation, and then those details are something that we can do, but it's something that's a little bit less important than the foundation itself. Um, anyway, version control with GitHub. Anyway, um, so next up, as I say, we're first we create this, then our next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make an example repo. Now, obviously, in our example, we are doing it for this assessment. So, um, just open Notepad. I'll go here. I'll go IMAD 5112 A1-2024. Then I'm going to go to GitHub, click New, paste in that. I've already made one which is called Rough Draft, but I'm going to make that one. It's going to be public. Um, it says here that we need a README file, but our README file we're actually doing differently. So I'm not going to add a README file. I'm going to now create the repository. Now, there's no button here that says code. The reason is that our repo is empty. So in order to make it not empty, we can just create a new file. It's just going to be test. It doesn't even have to have an extension. It doesn't even have to have content. Commit, commit. Now, if we go to code again, we can see there's a code thing here where I can clone it. So, okay. So now the next step is install GitHub Desktop. So open with GitHub Desktop. Now, I've already got it installed, so it's going to open it like this. So what I'm going to do is two things. First of all, if you click this and you don't have it installed, it'll take you to this page. So then you'll just click download and you'll install this program, and then you will have the program like this. And to log in, you can go to options and you can say log into GitHub, continue with browser, continue, authorize, continue to GitHub desktop, and boom, you're logged in. Being logged in now enables you to push code, which we're going to be doing later. Okay, so we've installed it. Now we're going to clone the repo. So if we go back to our repo here, you can actually just go here and click clone repo. Now, if you click github.com, you can now see the repos available. Now we know that we just created this one, so I'm going to clone that. But before we do that, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Documents. Now, if this folder is already inside Documents, GitHub folder, then that's fine. Double click it. That's where we're going to be. But if it doesn't exist in Documents, just create it and then open it up, and that's where we're going to be. Then we're going to say select folder, and it's going to use that as the home folder, and then it's going to create a folder within that with that name after we click clone. So now we're going to go ahead, click clone. So now we've got it locally. So now if I go to history, I can see the commit I just made, which was I created a test. So here it is. Now the test is not important. We can delete it, we can leave it. It actually makes no difference. Now, next thing we need to do, which is important, is we need to open Android Studio. Here. We go here. Now we're going to say new project. We're going to select, okay, so sorry, just so you know, these instructions are same as here. Creating AS project through an example. AS is Android Studio. It's just my abbreviation. Android Studio. And what we're going to do here is we're referencing the module manual. So the module manual, if you go to the top, you can see that reference material module manual, and you can find it in 2025. It's got the MM1. It's also linked here. So that's what we're going to do. We're gonna do something similar to Unit 1, Section 3.3, which is about making a project, and Unit 1, 3.1 and 3.3, which is running code. Those are the first two things we're going to do. But the reason it's only similar to this is because the instructions in the module manual are using a different version of Android Studio, which means that those instructions are actually not working. So these are the instructions that work. So first of all, it's important to understand, of course, the version we're using. It's Hedgehog. So Hedgehog things work like this. So we're going to select, when we make our project, we're going to select empty view activity, which is this one. Then we're going to click next. Now let's go back to this. When we name our project, we're going to use underscores. I chose to use underscores because other separators like full stop, dash, and space aren't really respected. For some reason, somehow I can't tell you off the top of my head. But anyway, I'm going to be using underscores to separate them. So I'm going to take the same name here to be my project name, but instead of using a dash to separate these words, I'm going to use an underscore. Next up is the location. Okay, so let's go here. Now I've already got the default location to be here, but you might not. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go here. You're going to have to go to users, your student, the RC student lab probably. Then inside here, there's documents, and then there's GitHub. And then you're just going to select GitHub. Actually, no, sorry, you're going to select this folder here. That's where our repo is. And you're going to say, okay. So that's where our folder is going to go. And now next time you create a project, it's going to automatically ask you, do you want to create it in this folder? And then it'll give the same name as what you have here. Now, just make sure that this is Oreo. Okay, so that's exactly what I just explained. Okay, cool. So now we don't have to worry. We can just click finish. Okay, now let's go. Before we continue here, I just want to show you. Hmm, we can get to that later. Coding. Oh no, it's here. Okay. So w- we've done that. Now, we've got some files here. If we go back to changes now, we have some files that we can see have been generated. This is what Android Studio has now generated to make our project. Now, we can commit this straight away and say, um, started my project. But before we do that, we're actually going to just fix something that's going to cause an issue later. So we're going to go to Gradle scripts. Um, God. Okay, this thing says add files to Git. I'm just going to say don't ask again, and then I'm going to say add. That's fine. So first of all, we need to make sure we've selected the Android view, and then we need to select this thing. This is in order to change our compile SDK version. So we've got Android selected, it's loading. Then once it's loaded, we're going to select this relevant file. So yeah, we're changing the compile SDK version from 34 to 35, because if we don't do that, then when we try to run our app in the emulator, it's going to give an error. Sure why this is taking so long. Um, guess we just have to wait. Oh, okay, there you go. So we go to here, Gradle scripts, then it's going to be this one, the one that goes module colon app. Then we go to compile SDK. We're going to change that to that 35. Now we're ready to commit. So started my project. All of these are selected by default, which is good. Write in my commit name, and then we're going to say commit to main. Now, if we want to, we can push that commit to the server. We can either push it now or we can push it later, but it's fine. We can just go ahead and push it now. Now, next up, so that's committing the base files. Next up, we're going to run our project. So first of all, we're going to select that, then we're going to select that, then we're going to select that. Okay. So first, we're going to select Device Manager. Then we're going to click play on Pixel 2. Just give it a moment, and it's going to start. But you can see this button here is not available. It's grayed out. It's not green. So in order to fix that, um, then we will go to this button, then File. Then we're going to say sync project with Gradle files. Once it's finished syncing, this button will be available. This is our emulator that's starting. Uh, oh, okay, it's green now. That's good. Okay. So now we can run it. But just something to note, if this screen, if you haven't interacted with this for a while, it may go black, which means the screen is locked, like the phone is locked. If that happens, you can just click power and it unlocks the phone. Otherwise, let's just wait for it to start and then we can the emulator to start and then we can run the app. Okay, so let's run the app now. While that goes, let's see what the next step is. And then we're going to see our result, which is just going to say hello world. That's how we keep the device awake, as I just told you. Okay, coding AS project through example. Next thing we're going to focus on is some coding. So this is still loading. While that's loading, let's look at the next step. So again, we're going to refer to the module manual. So, and we're going to see that in Unit 1 3.2, there's some layout coding. Where's the module manual? So another place you can find the module manual is up here if you want. So we're going to go to Unit 1 3.2. So that's Unit 1 3.2. So here we can see the files it's referring to, and here we can, so yeah, follow these instructions. These are fine. There's no problem with these instructions. So I'm going to be following them as well. So that refers to the layout. Unit 2, section 3.2 in Unit 2 then refers to variables. So 3.2 in Unit 1 refers to layout. Unit 3.2 in Unit 2 refers to variables, which we're also going to be using. So you can read these instructions and we're going to follow those as well. Again, Unit 2, Section 5 is going to refer to more layout UI, which is user interface components, such as input and output components. So, okay, first step then we're going to do is we're going to identify the primary files, which is going to be our main activity, um, uh, written like that, and then our main underscore activity XML written like that. The one is like our processes, and the other one is our inputs and outputs, basically, or we can also call it our logic. Oh, wait, we can say processes and then layout. You can say that's our inputs and outputs. Okay, so another word for processes is logic. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. Okay, so our screen has gone black, so let's turn it back on and we can see our screen. Okay, hello world, that's great. Okay, so um, let's open our main activity. Um, Kotlin file, and let's open our main activity main layout file. Let's just adjust these a little bit so we can make the screens more, uh, and then if you click Control plus, or if you click this, I assume, then it'll zoom in, which is useful so we can see, and we can just look at this white one. I'm not actually sure what this one is, but this one is fine. Now, okay, let's look at this. So the by default, our main activity file looks like this. If we want to insert more code, we can insert it under this line here, make a new line, put our code in there. So for example, we can put in some code like this. So we can go ahead and copy this. Now, we're going to go to main activity, going to put that in there. Now it's going to give some red things. So for these red things, button, text view, and edit view, we can hover over it and say import class. For the next one, click it and hover, import class, click it, hover, um, import class. Next thing is um, just to understand what these actually are. So basically, our layout is this one. You can open it up. Our layout has components. Our our logic can refer to these components, and that's what we're doing here. And we've created like handles for these components. So, um, but if those components don't exist, then it'll be red because they don't exist. Unresolved reference. There's no component with that name. So it's looking for a button component with this as an ID. Doesn't exist. So let's go back here. Let's so it's fine, we can just leave like that for now. Next, we're going to look at the layout. So let's go ahead and add some components so that this logic can have actually something to refer to. So let's go to common. So text view, we have one already. Let's click it. We see it doesn't have an ID. So let's just go ahead and delete that. Double click on a text view. Doesn't work. Okay, drag it in. Um, let's center align it. So bring it to the middle and then it'll lock to that. So there it is. Now just select it and click plus here, plus there, plus there. That will give it a position on the screen. Next thing, go to text, click plain text, sorry, drag that in. Also make sure that it's in the middle like that. Uh, add a plus at the top, on the side, and the other side. So now if we select these, we can see they have IDs. Edit text, text. So that's cool. Let's copy edit text, text, go back to our main. So that's going to be a edit text. So here is our edit text. It's not called named edit text. It's just called edit text. That's fine. We can leave it as that for now. We can also give the handle name that same word, which means we're going to have to change some things down here as well. Named edit text needs to change. Let's go back. We're going to make a button and a text view. So here's our text view. We see it's got a text view as the ID. So let's go back here. Let's find our text view. Welcome text view. Paste in that name. Let's also give that the handle name. I see now this has gone red, so let's put that in there as well. Okay, so go back. Now a button. Let's go make a button. I think they want a reset button for this as well. So whatever, make a reset button as well. But for now, let's just use this button. Okay, so you can see the ID is button. So here's the button. It's got the ID of button. Let's give the handle as button as well. This doesn't have to be the same as that, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to keep it like that. But it means I'm going to have to change this as well. So you can see that the button, we can see that, well, the button and the edit text are what we could classify as input components. They're things that the user interacts with. The button gets clicked and the edit text gets filled in. So it means that we can react to those things. So for instance, here we say do this if someone clicks the button. So button set on click listener. So if someone clicks it, then it'll execute this code here, which is to make a greeting um, variable, assign that greeting variable a string. That string includes the enter text, whatever text they've entered. So it'll say welcome, comma, then whatever text they put in there. So for example, if they put their name, it'll say welcome Ivan, for example. Then that greeting then gets used, passed to the text view, this one, which is our output component. So now if we rerun, Not sure why is this? Okay, it's working. So if we, where's our button? Oh, sorry, our button. Let's fix the button. So I didn't click the plus on the top and the side, which resulted in it being on the top. So just do that and then rerun it. Now I know this code has nothing to do with the assignment, but it gives you a foundation knowledge for what our next step is going to be for our assignment. Because these three components are like the most important components when it comes to coding. Well, you can consider it like that for now. Okay, so by default, it has name. So I could leave a name or I could put in Ivan or Van, whatever. Let's just make it Ivan. I don't know what this is. Hold and drag to move toolbar. Got it. For some reason my I doesn't work. Oh, there it works. Capital I? Okay, capital I doesn't work. That's weird. Anyway, Ivan, button, welcome Ivan, done. Okay, so now we've gone through all these steps. Simple resource. Um, okay. So, okay, we're going to go on to this next, but before we do that, let's go back to GitHub and look what's changed. So this thing says, listen, man, some code has changed here. Would you like to commit it? Here's the changes. Two files have changed. If you click on them, it shows you these are the changes. Um, so green it means it's been added, red means it's been removed. Okay, so we can see in here a whole bunch of stuff have been added. Um, which is our code. And when we clicked on button and said import, and here and said import, and there and said import, this is what it added. It added these imports. Um, and this is the logic we just made. So that's great. If we go here, when we edited our UI components and added them, this is what the code had actually generated. So we can see it added this, and we already had a text view, but we did replace it. So it's slightly different now. It's got an ID. The default text isn't Hello World. Don't know what that is, but it's changed. And it's got a bunch of attributes. Okay, so here is the time where I can say I added some logic. Now, this is a very like rudimentary message, and depending on where you are, what you're doing, your message will be unique to whatever you want it to be. But I'm going to just put it as that because it's pretty clear for now. And I'm going to say commit to main. Now we're going to see here again, it says, do you want to push to origin? I can say, yes, push to origin. Go ahead. This pushes it, our changes from our local machine, our commits to the server, which means that if you're now looking at this repo on the internet, you can see that changes have been made. In fact, let me show you. So now I see here there's just one file. Now let me refresh. Oh, now I can see there's a lot of files. Additionally, I can go here and say there's three commits. Okay, let's see what they are. So these are the exact commits I just did. So our most recent one, I added some logic. We can see exactly what we saw on our local. It's the history. Cool. Okay, so next up, we're going to look at um, edit and use strings. Now, what are strings? Strings are simple resources. Um, if you want to learn more about them, there's some reference material here where we look at, you can also find, so this link is linking to my account. And I've set it that anyone can view it. But if you want to get your own copy of this, you can go to the ARC system, go to IMAD, go to Unit 2 lecture resources, and there's the file, and you can go grab that. Now, if you want to learn more about what exactly they are, okay, so sorry, he references these things somewhere in here. Optimal work. as optimal work as follows. So he says to format your work, you might need to include some strings in the strings XML. Okay, that's not actually formatting. I don't know why I said that. But essentially, you can add strings. He refers to it here. He doesn't explain it a lot, but if you want to understand it more, you can go to these links here. You can understand what these are. These are resources, specifically string resources, and you can learn more about what they are. So, oh yeah, so let me write here. Okay, so that's where he refers to it. Now, for example, if we want to use one of the strings, let's go to values. It's in values and it's in strings. So we can see there's already one key value pair. So this you refer to as a key value pair. It's got a key, it's got a value. So it's a key value pair. It's got a key value pair called app name. So if I use this key app name, I can get the app name um, automatically. So there's different ways I can do this. If you scroll down to here, you can see if I want to reference this in my Kotlin file or in my logic file, Kotlin logic file, I would use get string r string string name. So for instance, in this case, it would be app name. If I want to use it in XML, I'd use it like that. So this is our layout. So another way you can do it in the layout, if you don't want to do it in the code, this is what the code is. This is how to just do it, drag and drop. Then I can, for instance, go to text, make a text view, put it in there. Now, if I want to make that this display the app name, which is contained in the strings, I can go here to delete that text, um, paste in this app name, then it prompts me to add this. So I'm going to say yes, click that. Now, if I look here, now you can see it's using the app name. So the app name is now written there, which is great. So if I rerun it, you'll see it appear there as well. So now if I go here, I can see that I've added a new text view to my layout, and I can go ahead and commit that and say I added a string reference um, example. So this is an example of using string referencing. Android text string slash app name, which is the way we refer to it in XML, as shown there. Cool. So we can commit that. Okay. So now we've got some good understanding. The next part of this talks about writing instrument activity tests using Android X Test Core. Now, after doing research on this is what the lecturer said he wanted, but after doing research on it, it's extremely hard to understand. It's extremely hard to get information on it. I tried my best, but I'm gonna just give up on that for now, and we're gonna find out exactly how we are going to do this. But for now, this tutorial is actually not going to cover this. We'll get to it hopefully another time. Okay, so now we've got now an understanding of the fundamentals. Now, how can we integrate this knowledge to actually um, do our assignment? Okay, so there's another thing we have to do when it comes to the assignment, which is collect some data. So this app is meant to display data to the user depending on what they input. But obviously, in order to have that data, we need to do research to accumulate that data. So I have already accumulated that data. Obviously, this is for 2024 assignment, so this is not like cheating to show you this data. So because we're not doing this assignment for college, but this is just an example of how to do an assignment. This is not the assignment itself for 2025. So here's some data. So all I've done is I've basically selected someone who's in their teens, and died, someone who was in their early 20s and died, late 20s and died, early 20, no, late 20s, sorry, early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, early 40s, late 40s, blah, 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 up until late, late 60s. Okay, so this is the data I've collected. I've also got references so we can verify that the data is correct. Anyway, so now that we've got this, we need to display it in a logic structure. So I don't actually talk about logic structures. Let's see here. Uh, uh, Logic structures. Plain text, edit layout, edit logic. Okay, maybe I'll add it here. So in our module manual, there's going to be a thing that talks about conditions, which is same thing as structures, conditional structures. Mm, I think it's this one. So unit 3, section 2. So unit 3, section 2, logic structures, otherwise known as if statements or whatever you want. Okay, so if we look at this, it's got some things. Wait. Oh, here. Okay, so here it shows you how to do logic. So if this happens, then this, else do this. You can also do else if, which is what we're going to do, which they don't actually show here, but it's fairly simple. Okay, so we go to our main activity. Now, we want, what we want to happen isn't to display their name after they input some text and click the button. What we want instead is for when they click the button for something else to happen. Actually, we still want them to show text, but we want them to show different text depending on the situation. So let's add some lines before here. So this is where we're going to decide what to show them. So to decide what to happen, we need to use an if statement. So to make an if statement, we do that. Then if we want to make an else, if, we write else if like that. Now, um, okay, so the next thing to note is that there's a specific way we want to do this logic. So first of all, we want to say if this, so we're going to basically want them to write a number in the text field, the edit text field. But that number, we want to check, is it between this number and this number? So let's say, first of all, is the number less than 10? Or actually, no. First of all, we're going to say, mm, okay, yeah, let's just continue. So first of all, we're going to say, is the number less than 10? Actually, sorry, I'm getting confused here. First thing we want to do, let's go back to my other one here. This is my practice one. Add component, add logic. Okay, so how does the logic work? Okay, so here's an example of how the logic might work. But I'm just coming here because I want to copy this. So first of all, we want to check, we want to convert the input to a number. So in order to do that, um, number value. So we want to make sure that this text is actually a number. So we're going to take the text. We're going to get the text in it. We're going to say toString, and then we're going to say toInt or null. So basically, if it is a number, it's going to convert it to an integer. If it's not a number, it's going to convert it to null, which means we can do a check. So our first check is actually a validation check. So we're going to say number value, if it equals, if it's not equal to null, or actually no, let's make it simpler. If it equals null, then we're going to make a message. So we're going to change this to result. We're going to move it up here. We're going to say, we're going to use that result here. We're going to remove that entirely. So we're just going to display the result. So if the number is null, our result is going to be, please enter a number. Now, else, we're going to do our, otherwise we can assume it is a number. So we say else. Why is this underlined? It's because empty. Empty. Oh. Okay, so we can then copy this, go inside here, change this to if, add that. We're going to change this. We're going to remove that. So if it is a number, then we're going to do other checks. We're going to do sub checks, which we nested in our sub if statement. Okay, so first of all, we're going to say if this number is less than 10, we're going to say, please enter a number higher than 10. Otherwise, we're going to do a different check. We're going to say if this is above 10, actually, we can write this another way, which might be a bit more consistent. Actually, no, that was a fine way. So if it's less than 10, do that. If it's greater than 10, do this. But actually, we're going to say not just is it greater than 10, is it greater than 10 and less than 15. So that means we're checking is it between 10 and 15. But let me just check one more thing. So we actually want to say, is it greater than 10 or is it less than or equal to 15? Which we have to write like that. Okay. Now, we're going to want to have a whole bunch of these because we want to know not just between those, but between a whole bunch of ranges. So in order to do that, what you can do is you come here, you drag up until here, then you can press Control D. This duplicates it. So you're going to duplicate it maybe 10 times. Actually, no, first undo. First we'll duplicate it once. Then I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to duplicate this. It's easier to enter the values. Okay, so so that's going to be between 10 and 15. Then we're going to do between 15 and thing. Then we're going to do between 20 and thing. Then we're going to do between 25 and thing. 30. I'm just doing it like that because it's easier, but it's going to be between 15 and 20. That's 15 and 25, 15 and 30. Sorry, 25 and 30, 30 and 35. So I'm just going to continue. 40. I'm just clicking the down arrow. Down, down. 50, down, down. 55, down, down. 60. So 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, for 60, 65. Same thing here. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. We want it once more because you want to end with between 65 and 70. And then I'm just going to copy that and paste it in there. So now we want to enter our data. So if it's between 10 and 15, we have got data for that. So let's go check out our data. Our data for that range, I guess I'll also share this document in the on YouTube so anyone can view it. Okay, so if it's between these, then we're going to add Anne Frank because she is between 10 and 15. She is 15. Next of all, I'm going to use Joan of Arc, died at 19. Next of all, Tupac, died at 25. Sorry, these characters here are like special characters, but I don't need them. Don't want them. Heath Ledger died at 28. Bruce Lee died at 32. Don't know who this is, but she died that age. I don't know who this is. George Orwell died at 46. Don't know who this is. Okay. Anyway, so this is all the history we are learning and the history we're teaching. Leonardo da Vinci. Cool. So now let's start the app and see if it works. So let's first of all just leave it saying name and see what happens. Oh, that's a problem. So it says here, please enter a number. Actually, before I continue, I'm just going to go here, make sure that's positioned correctly. Now I'm going to refresh. Come on. Okay, so yeah, if we enter a name, a string, it says please enter number. So then I can say fine, 31. Enter Bruce Lee, martial artist, actor, died 32. So similar to my age. Cool. So now let's go back to GitHub. So now if we go here, sorry, wrong repo. So I had another repo here, which I was copying code from, but going back to here, this is our repo that we're dealing with. So we can see the changes we've made here. They seem to be working. We can see the other changes in the layout when I positioned the one block that I just did. Cool. So now I'm going to say added logic or added some logic or whatever. Commit that, push it. Okay. So that is basically the foundation of how to do an assignment for Android Studio. Um, let's just have a look again at the assignment here. So obviously the other things here is like you got to add an image and you got to do that and that's fine. Um, um, we can do that. I'm not totally sure how to do that, but it's probably not going to be super different to what we've done already. And it's something that you can maybe do more research on yourself. I don't really want to cover it in this video. It's basically just making things neater, which obviously is important, but but it's something that I feel people can just help each other with quite easily. So I'm going to leave it at that. The core things missing, as I said, is going to be our tests, which are specifically called instrumented activity tests using Android X Test Core, which is seems to be the way the lecturer wants. Anyway, something like that. The last thing is writing GitHub actions. This also, our actions are basically all they're doing is running our tests. So if we don't have tests to run and we don't know how to do that, then equally we're gonna not really know how to do that. So I'm also leaving that out. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys and you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.